see through the Holy Spirit who was interceding for me, my guardian angel. Before you fall into mortal sin, there is a great battle between the two armies, because the army of God don't want us to fall into mortal sin. They want to save us, but we defeat our own army. We go and side with the fallen army for our own destruction. So when we are in the presence of God, that same group of army that were interceding for us not to fall in mortal sin still is interceding for us to receive the grace of forgiveness from God. So then I received this force, this intercession, and I lifted up a little bit to look at the rock. And then I fused myself to the rock, and the Lord forgave me and separated me from the devil's territory. I was in great joy. But then I ended up back in the water again, and another sin came up. And that's the way this was happening. And it was getting worse. Then the sins of the tongue, the last one I want to share with you. When you are in mortal sin, or you are in a state of very weak spirituality, your tongue is like a whip that the devil uses to whip everybody around. You see, so when you wake up and open your mouth, you start whipping people. You start telling them and hurting them and doing horrifying things with your tongue. And you are responsible for every word that comes out of your mouth, because your word become real. It's like saying like your word incarnates and walk, because that's what it is, exactly what it is. Our words become a reality. They create an effect on people, for good or for bad. If we only knew how powerful this tongue is, probably you should meditate in St. James' letter, the beautiful reflection he gives on the tongue. But what it is the tongue is such a precious treasure, because with this tongue you can bring the most beautiful healing, compassion and love and hope to everyone. But with this same tongue you can curse and destroy everybody around, and you are responsible for everything, for good or for bad. And then the Lord sent me back to my body. That's why I tell you, I don't know if I died and the Lord sent me back. If I fainted, if I fell asleep, that is a mystery. I don't know. I end up in the body again, and I had convulsions like coming back into a jail. And I was in that cave. I heard these animals flying, and I get back into this horrible nightmare. And the next day, the guerrillas took me out of the cave and got me to walk with them for 5.5 months more through the jungles. And I tell you, I was an absolute changed human being. Because I'm not going to tell you that I didn't suffer. I went through great tortures and desperation during those months. I never thought I was going to make it alive. But I was changed, because I was looking at them and I knew they were prisoners of the devil. And they were attacking me and they didn't know why. And I felt so bad for them, and I felt worse for me, because I was praying to the Lord to please not to let me die without confession. I couldn't believe that the Lord gave me the weapons to defend myself, and I was going to be killed and go back into the presence of the Lord with all my sins. Then 4.5 months into the kidnapping, they stripped me from everything I ever worked for. They took everything away. And then 45 days I waited to get killed. Every time I saw someone with a rope, I thought they were going to hang me. They sharpening a knife, they're going to stab me to death. They cleaning up a machine gun, they're going to shoot me. 45 days like that. One day, one of the guerrillas told me to ask the commandant to kill me on the road so my family could find me. So I went to the commandant and secretly asked him, could you kill me on the road? And he said, no, I have to kill you in the jungle. We have no time to take you to the road. So I thought I was going to die in the jungle. Because I didn't know what the Lord wanted. You know, I didn't know exactly what happened in that sense. But I was every day offering every suffering I had for the reparation of my sins. And I was believing in God's mercy, but I was more afraid about me. I was afraid about what I was going to do in the presence of the Lord again. So the Lord performed the greatest miracle. One day, I was taken to a road by these criminals, and I had my beard down to here. The same clothes 6 months. It was all ripped. I never slept on a bed or took a shower. I was a wreck. I was this skinny. And I got to the road, and they told me to walk straight and not to look back. So I thought they're going to shoot me on the road. And that was the longest walk of my life. And I was praying to the Lord, Lord, if I'm going to die on the road, get them to shoot me on my head so I die instantly, because I didn't want to be left bleeding on the road and without any help of anybody. But the shot never came. I reached a corner, like a curve, and I could see from the corner of my eyes that they were going back into the woods. but I have lost my will, because when you have been kidnapped so long, you don't know what to do on your own. So I was hoping they come back to tell me where to go and what to do. I didn't know what to do on my own. I was petrified on the road, so I kept on walking and walking and walking and walking for a long time. And then I heard an engine far away, and after a while an old bus showed up, and this was a dirt road, and it stopped a few meters ahead of me, and a woman came out and went into the woods. I realized she was one of those guerrillas, so I ran to the bus, and when I got to the door of the bus, he closed the door in my face because I looked like a caveman coming out of the woods. So I put my elbow and my knee in the door and pushed it open and walked into the bus. The back bench of the bus, an old bus, was empty because there was a broken glass and dust was coming in. So I sat in the center, and I was looking to the driver. The driver was looking at me through a rear view mirror, expecting me to do something terrible any moment. And the whole bus was looking like this. I was just like a scared cat in the middle like this. And I didn't know where I was, and I didn't dare to ask them anything. Sometimes I thought they were probably guerrillas, and this whole thing was a setup because I was so paranoid. And then after a while, you probably imagine the rest. I made it to a town and another town. The police came around, and I came back to my family. It took a while to recoup. When I recouped, the first thing I did, I went to confession with a Franciscan priest in a monastery. And I was on a long line of waiting for confession. I made it in, and it was an empty room, had no furniture. And this priest there, very holy priest with a long beard, he received my confession. I confessed for a long time. These people that were waiting outside were looking in like, whoa! And they could hear my sins from outside because of the echo of the room, so they were probably petrified. They were probably saying, oh, we are okay. It's like, then the priest told me, you can keep on confessing, I'm going to give you the absolution. I said, no, Father, I'm not through yet. He said, no, I'm going to give you the absolution now. And then he gave me the absolution. I walk out of there, just waving at those people. And I could have confessed my sins in a public place in front of 1 million people, because the Lord taught me that sin is the devil and we are sinners. We are sinners. So I was taking the devil to jail, and I was so happy because I could almost hear him being burnt every time. Here, and another one, and another one. Legions I was giving up, So then I was so happy and feeling so light when I came out of there. The communion that I received, I cannot even describe to you the experience that I had in my first communion. It was like the biggest thing you can ever dream to experience, because the Lord gave me the greatest communion you can ever dream. I felt Jesus in a way that this is impossible to describe in words. And I kept coming to the church. I had to learn everything. And I was really shy because I didn't want to tell anyone. Here I am, a Catholic that doesn't even know the Our Father. So I didn't tell anyone. It was a secret. I was standing by people just trying to listen what they were saying. And some people were intimidated and they stopped saying it. And that's the way I was trying to learn how to go back to the church, little by little. And I started to read the catechisms and all of that, and go to prayer groups, very silent. I never told anyone about this experience because I thought this was a big secret between the Lord and me, and nobody should know this. Besides, I never thought anybody would even consider believing me. So then I never said a word, not even to the priest I confessed. So 2 years later, I went back to Colombia on a Holy Week. And on Palm Sunday, I went to this church for Mass at noon, and I didn't make it inside the church. It was packed. So I was outside looking in through the main door, and there was a big crucifix on top of the altar. And I started to feel dizzy like this. I thought I was going to faint. Then I started to see the Lord just appearing to me the same way he appeared on the rock. And I started to receive